Thanks for joining us once again here on week number 17, kicking off the round of 10 here in the Xfinity Series, well, the Silverback Tax Series with the Xfinity cars. I'm Greg Olenek, joined by Brandon Domain as always. And Brandon, it's going to be a good one here under the lights at Chicagoland Speedway.
Yeah, and honestly, we were talking about it before we even came on air. We haven't seen a caution at Chicagoland in this series since season 1. We're in season 4 now, so we've seen a lot of clean racing. We also saw the similar setup last year. The first race in the round of 10 was here at Chicagoland Raceway. Saw a good race there. Hopefully we can recreate that tonight here this season.
Yeah, probably the smallest field of the season, too, that we're seeing so far with the Silverback Tax guys. Only 24 guys showing up and pulling those cars off the haulers here tonight, so maybe shaping up to be another clean one here tonight. One of my favorite tracks, so it will be a good one for sure. So let's check out those standings coming into this week, and unlike last night, we only got 10 moving on. We had 11 in the Truck Series. That was a tie on the cut line, but 10 guys moving on here in the Silverback Tax Series. So let's go ahead and name them off. Jacob Manning, Joshua Balliette. Well, those two have been pretty dominant here so far this season, along with Seth Reed, Austin Reedy, and Adrian Schumacher starting to look good here late in the playoffs. Max Service showing some good speed out there tonight here in practice. Vincent Cortez getting that win late here in the season as well. He's looking pretty good. And Jovi Ray, Josh Susi, and you can't count out a former champion in Logan Joyner. It is going to be a tough field and a tough call to make it in that final 5.
Yeah, I mean, we've got 3 former champions here in the series, all inside that round of 10. And unlike what we saw in the Truck Series last night, we have 10 instead of 11 drivers because of the tie. We also have some of the winners that have gotten knocked out of this already throughout the playoffs. So we're seeing a little bit of that shakeup. Max Service, Logan Joyner, guys without a win that are advancing through the playoffs. And that just kind of shakes it up a little bit more. You got guys that are a little bit even added hunger to go out there and get a win in these kind of circumstances.
Yeah, so that's how it's shaping up as far as the individual standings go. Let's check out last week's team scores from week 16. And boy, it was a tight one between the top 2 teams, Tank Racing and JW Racing, both putting up the 2 highest scores of the week, 118 to 107. That one going to Tank Racing. JBR going to get the win over Murray Reedy Motorsports, 85 to 66. Well, nobody shows up for Blackout, so Phoenix Virtual going to get that win, 93 to 0. And with the bye last week, Highline Racing is going to go ahead and put up 51 points and claim themselves another win, even though it doesn't really matter. So let's check out the standings here coming into week 17. And, well, we've got 4 teams listed there in green. The top 2 going to go ahead head-to-head for a best-of-3 matchup here. Tank Racing and JW, they're going to be battling for that first-place prize, with Murray Reedy Motorsports and Phoenix Virtual Racing going head-to-head for that third-place matchup there.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Unlike last night, where we still saw a little bit of separation that was needed throughout that 3-4 matchup, where 3 teams were vying for it, we got everything locked up already here for going into next week in that best-of-3 series on the championship round, the third-place round. So on the team side, really nothing to keep up with tonight aside from momentum, which always goes a long way in these things.
Yeah, and people are going to have a chip on their shoulder, too. We're going to have some JBR cars out there and some Highline cars, too. So they're going to be trying to go ahead and play spoiler, maybe get another win for the season. I mean, JBR, it's something to be said if you can finish above 500. And they're sitting there at 7, 8, and 1. So why not go out there and try your best? I know Jonathan Byer will always take a win, no matter whether that name is listed in red or not. So before we get out there, it looks like these guys are wrapping up qualifying with about 15 seconds to go. Got to give a quick shout out to some of our sponsors, such as Butt Kicker, coming back on board here as always here at Speed Racing Network. Go ahead and head over to thebuttkicker.com and see every piece of equipment they have to offer for the sim racer in your life. Can't thank them enough for coming back here on board this season. Got to also give a shout out to Silverback Tax Solutions over there at silverbacktax.com. The number right there on your screen, 662-996 4357. I know I got Sean working hard on my taxes right now, and man, he is good at what he does. So go ahead and check them out if you got any issues with the IRS whatsoever. That's their profession. They're the ones to do it. So also got to give another shout out to TJ's Team Foundation over there at morethanAcape.org. Can't thank them enough as well for coming on board here this season. I can't thank them enough. Go ahead, please check out morethanacape.org and donate anything that you possibly can, whether it's your time, money, or just even spreading the word about this great foundation that helps families battling and dealing with pediatric cancer. So thanks to all of our sponsors for coming back on board here in Season 4, but let's waste no more time and get on out there to the racetrack here. It looks like the boys are gridding up out there, a little bit of an unorthodox gridding where they get ready to go out there on the track, not on pit road. So let's take a look at that starting lineup. And Vincent Cortez right there on the pole. Jonathan Byer outside row number 1. Josh Soucy and Jacob Manning in row 2.
It'll be Austin Reedy starting in position number 5 with Logan Truitt on the outside in that third row. Row 4, going to be Adrian Schumacher and Max Service, Tank Racing teammates, still eligible for that championship contention.
And then Cole Martin, Nathan De La Rosa, that's going to round up our top 10 with Michael Larch and Jovi Ray sitting here in row number 6. Not many more cars to get through, so we'll show you the lineup there. Bo Tiffany, Devin Zimmerman in row 7, Jackson Wade, Logan Joyner in row number 8.
In row 9, it'll be Josh Balliet, the points leader coming out of that last round. Of course, everything reset now. He'll be alongside Jack Johnson. Row 10, Nick Helda and Seth Reed. Chris Bishop, Tyler Murray will be in row 11. And row 12 will be Lucas Lyons and Craig Lautenslager.
Yeah, so Seth Reed, the lowest running or lowest qualifying playoff driver. I know that's going to be concerning for him, but I don't think he's too worried. Who you got here tonight, Brandon, before we turn these guys loose for 110 laps?
I'm nervous about this because of the track record lately, but one name that I've really liked this season on these mile and a halves, Max Service with a good starting position, real safe driver. I think that goes a long way tonight.
Okay, I'm going up a little bit further. Now I'm going to take this man in the pink 53, Josh Soucy. It's been a little while since he's been in victory lane. That's my pick here tonight as the guys approach the Geico restart zone, and we see that Silverback Tax Solutions green flag waving here at Chicagoland.
Normally, I'd like to let this play out, but just heard over the radio Vincent Cortez penalty on the initial start.
Wow.
He's going to be coming down pit road right out of the gate. Big time mistake there and a big time penalty for Vincent Cortez, pole sitter on the night, getting a penalty on lap 1.
Hey, if you're going to do it early on where you have time to possibly get back. I don't think he's going to go a lap down. We'll have to keep an eye on it, but these boys coming out of turn 2 right now, I think he'll be able to get out just in front of him. No stop and go. I think it's just a drive-through penalty for that black flag.
Yeah, just the drive-through, and the one thing he's going to have to be worried about, and we talked about it at the start of the broadcast, we haven't seen a caution at Chicagoland in a long, long time. Normally a green racetrack, and how they race out there, and with a smaller field, you kind of expect that this might be boding for some longer runs. That's going to be a tough position there for Vincent Cortez to rebound as we ride with Josh Soucy, who's out in front.
Yeah, you can see Cortez just out the window there. He's got about a back straightaway ahead of these guys. I think Cortez, with his speed, will be fine here, but he's got to play it careful and not bury himself too deep in the sand here. But just like that, Soucy jumping out in front after qualifying third. The battle's on for second right now. His teammate Jacob Manning going to work on Austin Reedy here. So 3 playoff drivers here in the top 3 going nose to tail. Jonathan Byer falling back to 4th.
In this battle here for second, 2 of the drivers that have won on these mile and a halves, Jacob Manning winning at Nashville, one of the D-shaped ovals, that mile and a third. We'll call that a mile and a half, though, for this purpose. And Austin Reedy at a very similar track at Kansas, a race winner earlier this season. So these type of racetracks bode really well for them, but Soucy out to a great jump. And I want to give a nod early on. It's been a rough season for that man in 4th, but Jonathan Byer putting together a really good run in qualifying and showing some pace here tonight in practice as well.
Yeah, I think he's just being patient. I mean, he's got that 13 on the door, which we saw park in victory lane last night at Iowa with Landon Cardulo piloting that truck in that TJ's Team Truck Series race in the Hawkeye 115. He got the birthday wins, and Jonathan Byer wants to go ahead and pick up where he left off. Looking good so far. I think he's just back here taking it easy. No reason to push for him here tonight. The team standings are wrapped up. He's not in the playoffs. He's going for a win here, just taking it easy so far.
Yeah, all about pride at this point there for Bayer. And mention, rookie season in the Xfinity Series, can tell you firsthand that's a rough transition coming from trucks. And it's just been a tough season there for him. But this is the kind of run that just builds that confidence, builds that momentum going forward.
So he's sitting about a second behind the rest of our pack here. Let's see what other battles we got happening on the track, and not really many to speak of. It's pretty single file throughout the track, but Seth Reed already up 7 spots from where he started the night, up to 13th, just like that, getting by Jovi Ray and Logan Joyner, 2 playoff drivers, and Vincent Cortez behind him. Started the night out 10th out of the playoff guys. He's already passed a couple. That's going to be a confidence building there for the 51 here.
Yeah, and as he makes another pass, this time on Jackson Wade, and the thing that caught me off guard, maybe it came across when I was reading, when we were going through the lineup, Seth Reed was the fastest in practice by a long way. And I don't know if he had an issue in his qualifying lap or something, just scrubbed off some speed, but a 31.18 was significantly slower than what he was running in practice, even in single car runs. So that tells me something just went wrong on that qualifying run, but there is a ton of speed in that 51, and nearly a little bit of damage on that nose as well.
Yeah, got to be careful there. Bo Tiffany almost get into him. I know Bo doesn't want to do that, considering he races in the JW Racing stable over on the truck side here, so gives him a little bit of room. But just like that, he's right on the bumper of his teammate Michael Larch in the 52. This 51 is on the move. It's going to be in the top 10 before we know it here. So good catch there on the practice times. I know him and Max Service looked pretty fast. There's Service just in front of him in that 81 machine. See if those guys can keep climbing here. Service already down a spot from where he began.
Yeah, and for Service, that's kind of how he likes to run early on in a run, though. He's a tremendous long run driver, so that's not too shocking there. With Reed, he's normally aggressive when he's got to pick up some spots there. He's not shy to be powerful on the early part of the run and then kind of settle in, get that track position, and be good at defense and protecting those spots after he gains them. So this is kind of really telling for those two of the fastest in practice. I think they were 2 of the top 4 in practice, if I recall correctly, and they're just running their style of race and meeting in the middle right now.
So just like that, Seth Reed now up to 9th and right on the bumper, putting the pressure on Max Service here for that 8th position. No change. Well, actually, we do have a change out in front. Jacob Manning getting by his teammate, Josh Susi. So the 50 now out in front, the 53 now in second. Austin Reedy right on the bumper. This pack got a lot tighter here. Bayer was a second back the last time we were watching this pack, and right now he's making a pass for 3rd potentially on Austin Reedy.
And while they've gotten tighter, that gap back to 5th place, and now Logan Truitt just opening up more and more. These guys 2 seconds clear of 5th place, Truitt, and Bayer using that outside line. There's that cut through, though, on that apron. Reedy trying to keep that nose there, but not quite going to happen. The momentum prevailing there for Bayer on the outside.
Yeah, I always know it's a mixed opinion on whether people like to run that apron or not. There you see Austin Reedy using it and ultimately losing the spot, probably just giving Bayer some room. He's going to sit back here. I know how Austin Reedy runs. He sees how this thing is shaping up, looking like this might be a long green flag run here, like we kind of teased at the top of this show, where we don't see too many cautions here at Chicago. Now that Bayer machine looks pretty fast. He's going to the inside of Josh Susi.
Yeah, and looking at the lap times, I think he was a little bit patient there at the start. His best lap is about 1,500th slower than both Manning and Susi, so I think he was kind of easing into it, keeping those tires a little bit fresh for this point of the run when that fall-off starts to become a factor.
So he almost made the move there on Susi, and just like that, Austin Reedy jumping back to the outside of him in the 96 machine. They sorted out. Bayer, though, is not going to have that 3rd place given to him. Reedy really putting the pressure on, now making the move to the inside, using that apron again here. And just like that, we're already to lap 14 here. They're going to be ticking off quickly. Have to imagine we're going to see a 2-stop race here tonight. So we'll be looking to see when that window opens up for some of these guys. Going to be kind of easier for these also if they're on a green flag pit stop strategy with fewer cars out there. So it's going to shake it up a little bit, I think.
Yeah, not the hardest pit entry either. It's got a pretty wide opening there to be able to kind of angle in. It does kind of get a little bit tight coming off the turn, but you can kind of navigate that with a couple of runs through it. So not a bad pit road, a lot of space to get that thing woed up, but you're absolutely right. 2-stop race tonight, probably going to be seeing this thing go in thirds, maybe around lap 35. I would expect we'll start seeing some cars come down.
So let's see what else we got going on here throughout the field. Balliet running a little bit further back than we're used to seeing him. He's back here in 14th, up 3 spots from where he started the night in 17th, making some work here on Tyler Murray. But right now, he's currently the 5th highest running playoff driver, it looks like, at the moment. 6th highest, I should say, followed by Logan Joyner, Adrian Schumacher, and looks like we got Vincent Cortez back there too, still in 24th, 19 seconds back of our leader. So right now he's got some work to do after having a great season to this point. The 7, what do you think? Might be in trouble or just taking it easy right now?
I think this is just kind of an easy run right now for Balliet. He's been pretty solid about just kind of biding his time and making sure he's got the life in the tires once we get later into the run. He's also been really good at reading races this season, I believe. Just doing a good job of just knowing when a green flag run is going to be out there for a while and just kind of pacing himself for that. I think by the time we get to this second run, this thing stays green, might start becoming more and more of a factor.
So checking back in on Vincent Cortez as well, mired all the way back here, currently last on the track, sitting 24th after starting out in front here tonight, jumping that start too. He's got nobody around him, kind of a lonely feeling for the man in the 23 machine so far, but just knowing like you just hang in there, you're going to start having some people fall back to you. It might not be the night that he wants, but at this point he needs to get every point that he can get. So we'll bring up the track map just to kind of show you where the field is compared to him. And I mean, look at them. They're still about a straightaway behind him. He's not making up much ground, and not too many people falling off the pace so far early on. Still a tight bunch there.
No, and I think it's just added frustration too, just because his lap times are right in line with the race leaders, even with him being by himself out there. A little bit of a bobble there, catching the apron, getting a little bit loose through 3 and 4, but his lap times have been among some of the fastest out there without any little bit of a tow from anybody out there in the draft. So he's got the speed. He just needs an opportunity to get that field kind of pulled back to him.
Well, here comes Logan Truitt, a driver that was eliminated last week, along with Cole Martin. They're catching up to Jonathan Byer and this lead pack. Now, Byer falling out of it a little bit. You see, he's almost a second behind Reedy at this point. And there's that 51 machine in 7th place. He's about to move into the top 5, almost within the first 20 laps.
Yeah, I don't think we have to make too much of a case on who the hard charger is at this point in the run, as Seth Reed all the way up from 20th, now flirting with a top 5 already, just 20 laps in. And about halfway through this run, he's still got a ton of pace, even with that aggressive start.
Yeah, so Cole Martin going to go down low while Logan Truitt utilizing that high line. Seth Reed just kind of biding his time right now and seeing where he can pick up a spot. And he's going to go take a look to the inside of Logan Truitt, with Logan using that wall really high up there, every inch of the track being used by that 65, and that's ultimately going to hand it over to the 51. Moves Seth Reed now up into 6th place, turning on lap number 22. He's going to try and get to work on Cole Martin now in that 10 machine.
And it's interesting seeing so many guys right now kind of running along that high line. This isn't a track with a progressive banking like we see at a Kansas or anything like that, or what we saw last night even at Iowa in a lesser degree. This is just a straight 14-degree banking on this racetrack. It's just where the grip levels are. To me, I kind of like the inside line here a little bit more. I think it's a little bit more stable. You kind of get that feel for it, but you do carry a little bit momentum just with that that little bit of a lesser turning radius out there on the high line. And it just makes it where you can carry maybe about an extra 5 miles an hour, but at the same time you're going farther. It kind of is a little bit level at that point. You don't see that big advantage like you do elsewhere where you get that progressive banking. So when we saw all those cars starting to drift up to the high line, that really caught me off guard.
Well, yeah, you see it didn't really work for Logan Truitt either. I think he just knows that 51 is pretty fast right now and knows that he is still in the playoffs right too. But Cole Martin holding up here. And holding up strong as well. He looks pretty fast in that 10 as these two are running down Jonathan Byer, sitting there in 4th. He's come back to this pack.
Yeah, not too sure what happened there because, I mean, he was definitely kind of just holding out on that run a little bit longer before being aggressive. I thought he did a good job at saving the tires, and all of a sudden he's the first one out of that pack of 4 that just kind of fell off the pace compared to the rest of them. So this is a little bit interesting there. Maybe just kind of lost a little bit of that rhythm there too, which this is a track that's a little bit sneaky about that, with that back straightaway being curved. You kind of have to get into a flow here.
One man I think we're seeing get into a flow is Susi and the 53. We saw him get out to the lead early on with the issues with Vincent Cortez on that restart. Led the first couple laps, and his teammate Jacob Manning getting by him here. But if I'm seeing things correctly, I'm thinking that 53 car has the speed to lead this race. It's just whether he wants to push the issue here with his teammate in that 50 car.
Yeah, past couple laps, he's been about a half-tenth of a second faster each time by. So he's right there. I mean, he's right on that bumper now, taking a look to the inside. I think he's got a pretty good chance of clearing him coming out of turn 4.
Yeah, and Austin Reedy hanging in here too with these boys as well. I'm telling you, don't take your eyes off that 96. He knows how to make this a long-run car, make that fast too in that 96 machine. But right now, battle for the lead between the two teammates in the 53 and the 50. Susi trying to make it happen on the inside. It's going to get a little tight here going into 1, and they're going to have to reassess here and try again. But that's going to really bring the 96 right back into the picture. All 3 of our top 3 nose to tail.
Yeah, that's a tough moment there. You want to make that pass for the lead if you're Susi, and you also want to hang on to that lead if you're Manning. Even though your teammates, you could work together on that, but you want to hold that position if you're the race leader, and you want to get it if you're second. But what that did do was absolutely slowed them up, gave Reedy a shot to pull in those extra couple tenths of a second, and now he's going to be a big-time player in this as we get closer and closer to those green flag stops.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, too, how you just kind of almost forget about Austin Reedy at times. He's such a clean driver. You don't see him having any issues with anybody on the track, but he just is always around up at the top 5, top 10, and just puts up points week after week, which is why he is in this round of 10 for Murray Reedy Motorsports. And, I mean, he is definitely a contender when it comes to the championship standings and making it into that round of 5, potentially walking away with the trophy here at the end of the season at Las Vegas. I think each 3 of these guys are definitely strong contenders, with that 51 rolling up here too. I mean, it's hard to say who's going to be the 5 that make it to Vegas at this point.
Absolutely, and you talk about the kind of long-term momentum. Oh, here we go. Move to the inside by Susi, trying this time through 3 and 4 yet again. I don't think he's got quite the run that he had last time, though, as Manning keeping that momentum on the high line. Reedy now going to take a look deep down into the inside there, seeing if he can get a line. Not quite going to be there just yet, but I think he's kind of testing the waters there a little bit.
I mean, you could see him backing up the turns, too. That's only going to help him in the long run. He's not in a rush. He knows what's happening right here. Why take it 3 wide? I'm seeing a crash. Jonathan Byer here involved.
Oh, big wreck.
Logan Joyner, a playoff driver there off in the grass.
Saw a couple others on my second view also, but that is a big one there for Logan Joyner. Playoff driver Jonathan Byer had a great run early on in this race. That's going to come to a halt. But that's going to be the one playoff driver, I do believe. Oh, I think we got Max Service as well. Might have been that other car. I see him back there in that 20th position now.
Ooh, smoking too. Big time damage for the 81.
I am officially done picking people in the Xfinity series.
Yeah. It's all good. There's no such thing as a broadcaster curse.
Only in this series, I think. The rest of them, it's been all right. But yeah, here we go. Take a look at the admin box rec replay for the first time at Chicago since season 1. And
Large got into him a little bit.
Oh man, nothing that Service could do. Saw Logan Truitt caught up in that. Big hit for Craig Lautenschlager. Big hit as well for Logan Joyner. That's a whole lot more cars than it even seemed at first. And this is just a helpless feeling. You see it all happening. You're hoping that you got that line on the inside to make it work, but
Valiette almost involved in that too.
Yeah, that's a tough impact. That's a heavy impact nose first into the wall like that.
See if we can ride on board with Valiette just to see his perspective through all that.
kind of shielded from the very start of that, right behind Bo Tiffany. Still finds the space. Hello. And actually, Bo Tiffany, that little contact there between Tiffany and Service actually pushed Service back up the racetrack and kind of cleared the path for Balliet. So inadvertently, Bo Tiffany actually being the big help right there to Joshua Balliet. And he definitely didn't want to be the help, but he did kind of clear the path.
Here's Jovi riding in the DuPont scheme, sees it happening in front of him. This is not a good feeling when you're a playoff driver. Ooh, just slowly gets through there, makes it through unscathed, but man, a lot of guys that were riding in the back here. That was a bit of a pucker moment, we'll call it that.
Yeah, big time for sure. And I think the only person that's going to see that and see it as a good thing, Vincent Cortez right back into the running in this race now after that issue, getting that penalty on lap number 1. That's going to pull him right back into the field, and he's got a very fast Toyota Supra tonight.
So yeah, he is going to be restarting up in 15th. That's got to be a good feeling, even though it comes at the expense of one of his teammates, Max Service, who is going to have a really bad start to his round of 10 here in the playoffs. But Vincent Cortez, I know he was kind of fuming probably after making that mistake early on, is going to be right back in this thing, like you said. So restarting in first here, Josh Susi. He's going to take the lead over after that round of pit stops. Had a 0.6 of a second faster pit stop than his teammate there, Jacob Manning, and that's going to get him out in front. Second row is going to be Austin Reedy and Seth Reed. It seems like those two are always around each other, Reedy and Reed. Get Joey Ray up here in the mix too. He's back there in 7th, Reedy, Reed, and Ray. But yeah, we got Nathan De La Rosa, got to give him a nod as well. He's up in 5th. Michael Larch in 6th, Ray and Tiffany in row 4, Balliet and Murray in row 5. Pace car peels off, and we're going to see that Silverback Tax Solutions green flag waving again here for the second time tonight.
That was a tremendous launch on that restart for Josh Susi. He's going to pull away by about 3 car lengths, and that big jump actually going to pull Austin Reedy with him into that number 2 spot. Jacob Manning going to drop in behind him. Seth Reed just barely getting kind of closed off there on that exit of turn 2, but he's going to make that look to the inside for 3rd.
Yeah, so Reedy up to 2nd, Reed to 3rd, and Jacob Manning just like that falls back to 4th. Know that Manning is probably taking it easy here. Might not have liked what he saw from the tire data after getting hunted back down by these two now out in front. Might be taking a different approach here because this thing's still definitely trending towards a long green flag run here. Turning lap number 35. Still might see. No, I think they can get it on one stop here from here on out.
It's tight, but they can do it. They came in on lap number 31, couple of caution laps in there. They can get about 40, 42 laps. So it's going to be a small window if this thing does stay green, but they can make it on one stop.
You see 3 wide racing further on back here. There's Lucas Lyons, but further on up, Jackson Wade. He's up 6 spots, up to 9th place. Bo Tiffany under attack right there from Tyler Murray. And there's Vincent Cortez quickly making his way up, already up to 12th, trying to get through this roadblock in front of him of Bo Tiffany and Tyler Murray. So keeping an eye on that 23. He's gotten past his teammate there, Adrian Schumacher. That's a playoff driver, very important there for the 23. He's moving up.
Yeah, and I've been keeping an eye on Schumacher tonight, too. He's had some blinking issues over the course of the race. Actually got told to drop back at one point towards the back of that line. So he's been riding a lot of this race outside of the top 20, but that caution kind of giving him new life. And looks like those blinking issues might be cleared up here, at least for the time being.
Yeah, and Adrian will flat out tell you he is not a mile-and-a-half guy, even though I think he's a flat-out liar. He's beaten me multiple times on a mile and a half. He knows how to get it done around here, so definitely not taking my eyes off of Schumacher, currently sitting in 13th. Here's his teammate, though, Balliet. We saw mired back about mid-pack. He's made his way up to 7th, up 10 positions. So Balliet now making that hard charge. He's joining Reed and trying to take that hard charger here tonight. Reed up 17, Balliet up 10. Tyler Murray not just behind him, too. In the 16, he's up 13 spots, so some big movers so far.
There absolutely have been some huge moves, and honestly, looking at the top 10 right now, there's only 3 drivers that started inside the top 10 that are still in those 10 positions, and it's our race leader Josh Susi, Austin Reedy, and Jacob Manning, the only 3 to start in the top 10 and still be there at this point in the race.
Yeah, still on pit road is Jonathan Byer and Max Service. Both those guys have been getting service for 6 minutes now, so you know the 81 is not going to quit here, trying to pick up as many points as he can, but currently sitting in 23rd position and about to go, I believe, to 24th. Actually, it looks like Craig Lautenslager might be done for the day. Not seeing him out there on the track, so that's going to put the 81 in 23rd. A pass for third here, potentially. Manny making a move to the inside of his teammate, Seth Reed. Move that 50 up to third.
Yeah, not a whole lot of fight there from Seth Reed either. I think he knew he had the run, wasn't going to risk slowing up that grouping a little bit there because they still only have about a half second back to Nathan De La Rosa and Jovi Ray. So they want to keep this thing as best as possible to getting 3 JW cars and Austin Reedy to start lining up and maybe pull away from that pack just a little bit.
Yeah, and it's going to be kind of a curious, interesting scenario to see. You know, these guys are great teammates. They always want to get that win, but it doesn't matter here this week. They're out there just trying to get as many points as they can for those individual standings. The team playoff will start next week when we get out to week 18 action. So nothing in line or nothing up for grabs as far as the team standings go here tonight. So these boys really not listening to any team orders here tonight.
Yeah, and I think there's going to be some part of it, though, too, is you got to look at, Max Service still on pit road, Logan Joyner with some damage. Adrian Schumacher has had some blinking issues there. How hard do you want to fight each other at the same time? Just to, when you're sitting there in the top 4 right now with 3 of your cars, that's a solid spot to be in with 2 more races left going into this round. I don't know what the risk factor is going to be there for some of these guys that are in a solid position in this race right now.
Reedy taking a look to the outside here. He might have it. Susi's got to be careful not to get into him. 2 playoff guys going for the lead here. Reedy on the outside. Susi on the inside. How hard does this 53 push, knowing that the 96 has that high line run? Potentially going to get the pass here on the front straightaway. Can Reedy lead this lap? I don't think he'll get it this time. He might have. That was close.
It's going to be Susi by about 0.003 of a second across the line that time. But I think this momentum on the high line here coming off of turn 2 might be just enough for Austin Reedy to get clear, and he does so now out to the point, Austin Reedy, and that's a scary sign. One of the better drivers when it comes to playing defense from the lead position in this series.
Yeah, and how long does Jacob Manning wait sitting here in third? Looking like he is wanting to go here after taking it easy on that initial restart. After that first caution of the night here, just like that, 10 more laps on these sets of tires. We're going to start seeing that fall off here before too long. And just behind them, Seth Reed trying to play defense on Nathan De La Rosa. Nathan up here playing spoiler as one of the drivers no longer in the playoffs in that 66. He's taking a peek to the inside of Seth Reed.
Nice little power move diving down to the inside, and Reed just going to give him that spot. I like this strategy right now from Seth Reed, actually. He's fighting as much as he can, but then once he knows that somebody's got the line on him, he's just saying, all right, I'm going to save the tires. You can go ahead and take that spot. I'll get it back later.
Yeah, this is already a win in my book for Seth Reed, considering where he started here tonight. Just got to hang with these lead pack guys, wait for the thaw off to hit, and see what happens. The boy knows he's got a fast car on those older tires, so why push it and battle somebody side by side for a few laps? We saw how that kind of hurt his teammates earlier with Susi and Manning going battling for that lead, and it really brought Austin Reedy back into the picture, ultimately leading to Reedy now out in front. Jovi Ray, though, now up in the picture as well. Where did he come from up 6 spots? He's made a lot of moves here so far early on.
This has been a pretty typical Jovi type of race, just kind of sitting there in the weeds, and all of a sudden you look up, and there's that Flames 24 car, that pretty iconic in 2000s NASCAR, sitting there right in a solid position. This is a guy that pretty much every single race this season he's been inside the top 15. The last 2 weeks that hasn't been the case, but up until that point, you have to go all the way back to the first race of the season when he failed to finish inside the top 15. So just a couple of rough weeks, but that's been a small blemish, is a nice little slide up there, and part of just an extremely consistent season.
Yeah, you can see Seth Reed, the last lap on the exit of 4, had a bit of a moment where he got loose. That gave Jovi the run to the inside, ultimately leading to Jovi Ray up into 5th position now. So Seth Reed now the last car in this pack. He's got a little bit of distance behind him now, but Joshua Balliet coming into the play now as well in that 7 car. He's sitting there in 7th, but 2 seconds back of Seth Reed.
You point out Balliet. I'll point out one spot farther back is Vincent Cortez getting closer and closer as well. He's now moved himself up into 8th. Adrian Schumacher moving up into 10th, maybe into 9th, as he takes a look to the inside of Tyler Murray.
Yeah, it kind of helps when you have your teammate just in front of you here. Can kind of just follow him, be a little patient, see what they're doing, because obviously that 23 car has some good speed here after qualifying on the pole, falling all the way to the back after a black flag on lap number 1, and fighting his way back up to 8th. He is running down Joshua Balliet just in front of him. So good to see Vincent Cortez making his way back up to the front. But back up front right now, Reedy still maintaining that gap. It's at 0.3 of a second. Manning sitting there about a half second back of our leader.
This all happening as we're right about halfway until that pit window is going to open up for that final green flag pit stop, should we get to that advertised distance and stay green on the way. But Reedy kind of inching away, but you just kind of focused in, right? You read my mind. I was about to say, the car that's kind of catching my eye is that 66, just kind of chipping away little bit by little bit here and just pulling towards that top 3.
I'm worried how hard he's pushing, though, right now in that 66. He almost spun it out on the exit of 2 that last time by, so you could tell he is really sending that 66 into each turn and really trying to get everything on the exit of each turn, as well as this lead pack starts to break up a little bit from 1st to 6th. There's a second half separating everybody here, so we'll see if that starts to come into play. Maybe we see this top 3 break away like we saw last time too during the long green flag run.
Yeah, right as I said, I was kind of liking what the 66 was doing. All of a sudden, kind of backing up a little bit. Maybe you might be dead on that and just getting to that point where the tires are starting to turn on him just that little bit, as Jovi Ray pulling up towards him, Seth Reed doing the same. And meanwhile, the fastest guy on the racetrack the past few laps is back in 7th. We mentioned him a little bit earlier, Joshua Balliet. So that second group starting to catch up a little bit more as well.
Yeah, there you see the last lap by 32.387, so that's not bad here, having about 20 laps or so and only 1 second of fall off. We'll take a look at all the times here last time by. We'll kind of see who is the fastest. There you see Reedy out in front with a 32.41. Balliet essentially matching him that time. Pretty much identical times in our top 10. Pretty crazy to see that, actually.
Yeah, everybody within about 0.14 of a second on the time chart that last time by. Fastest one, actually the race leader. We haven't seen that in a little bit, but Austin Reedy, fastest lap that last time by as we approach halfway.
Yeah, it makes sense considering he's starting to put a little bit of distance between him and those JW cars just behind him. Josh Susi and Jacob Manning, there you go, 32.47 that time by. And a little bit more disparity, and you see De La Rosa there in that 32.8 definitely starting to fall off here a little bit.
Yeah, I got passed by Jovi Ray and Seth Reed as well on that lap. That's going to hamper that time. But there we go again. Balliet fastest that last time, but only by 100th of a second compared to Austin Reedy. But what he is doing, he's getting way closer and closer to De La Rosa and Reed and Ray.
It's fun to say that. But right now, battle here for Michael Larch and Bo Tiffany, 2 drivers not sitting in the playoffs, but nonetheless, 2 guys we're used to seeing here in Speed Racing Network. Both these guys trying to battle for a top 10 position. We'll see what other battles we got going on right now. Checking in on the lowest running playoff driver currently on the track since Max Service is still on pit road. 15 minutes of repairs so far. I didn't think it was that big of a hit for the 9, but clearly he's got some damage that is hampering the performance in that 9 machine.
Yeah, I was a little bit concerned because it was front-end hit, and it looks fine damage-wise. When you look at it visually, you can see that little bit of crinkling up on the right front. But I'm more worried about power at that point. Maybe that hit was enough to kind of hamper the speed in that car from an internal side. And it just doesn't look like it's there like it was early on in the
Looks
race.
really tight, too. It doesn't look like he likes that car at all right now. That's going to be a long 50 laps remaining. But you got to stay out there because, you know, we can see that happen to other playoff drivers here. We saw it happen last night with Sean Jensick and Kyle Spies having issues and ultimately finishing as the bottom two cars in the whole field. And that was a much bigger field. And you could hear Kyle Spies kind of talk about it here tonight. That one hurt getting those 8 points. So Joyner going to be out there trying to get everything he can currently in 21st. But don't look now. Reedy is pulling away from these guys.
Yeah, he's just kind of pulling that little quarter of a second, or a quarter of a tenth, I should say, to maybe a half tenth every time by. That last time, though, about a tenth and a half faster than Susie and Manning, as they're starting to kind of play a little bit of a chess match against each other, kind of reading each other's lines, maybe seeing if they can make a pass and swap those spots a little bit. But in the process of that, they've given up that little bit more time to Reedy.
Yeah, so we'll see how each of these two drivers' patience continues to wear. I know Manning wanting to get ahead of his teammate Josh Susie right now, but not pushing it really too much at this point. Looks like they just got portions of the track where they're faster. The next, I think 96 might be faster in 1 and 2. When these two are kind of faster here on the second half of the track, you see that delta coming down off the exit of 2. They get a good run. It kind of catches them back up. And I'm not counting them out by any means just yet.
No, not at all. I mean, they're within a second of the race lead. They're still running pretty comparable lap times. So never count out those guys, especially guys that have wins already this season. So they know how to get it done. And we still got a little bit of life left in this run. This could be a little bit of more of an exploratory run in how these 40 laps are going to go if this thing does stay green the rest of the way also. And there we see it this time. They're closing in that little bit, a 10th faster for Susie, 1500ths faster for Manning. So that door's starting to close that little bit on Reedy.
Yeah, Reedy almost the slowest car in the top 10 that last lap. So maybe he just got a little bit loose on the exit of 2. But I don't know. They're going to catch him a little bit more this time by again here. Yeah, Susie almost the 10th faster. That delta is shrinking now as we get closer to the pit window opening up here for the final, possibly final green flag stop of the night.
And unlike what we were talking about at the start of the race with the two-stop strategy, this is going to be a much tighter window. I think you're going to be seeing everybody coming in maybe within about 2 or 3 laps of each other. So anywhere there's a little pocket of a battle for Susie and Manning, though they are teammates, they could be communicating with each other on it. But especially Reed, De La Rosa, Ray, Balliet, that group back there, that's going to be a little bit of a tricky one to be navigating. It's not the hardest pit road entry, but you're going to be in traffic, and everybody's going to be coming down at about the same time in terms of that lap count with how tight this is going to be with the fuel mileage the rest of the way.
So riding on board with Nathan De La Rosa, currently running in the 5th position here. He's kind of fallen back a little bit there, but he's cooled those tires off. That 66 looks like he is fast once again. Trying to work on Seth Reed currently for that 4th position, but it's got a mirror full of Jovi Ray as well. Taking a look here, trying to use that high line. This is the view from behind, though. It's getting crowded there. Ray and Balliet just behind, and Balliet making a move to the inside.
It almost looked peaceful when you were looking at the front, further the front on that roof cam, and then you go to the bumper cam, and all of a sudden there's chaos right back there with Balliet, Ray, and you'll see that Cortez all kind of chasing him down. So a whole lot tighter racing there as Balliet to the inside. He's going to do that cut down through the apron, see if that gives him a little bit of an advantage, but the momentum going to stay there for Ray on that high line. This is going to be an interesting battle at this point in the tire life.
And a point that I didn't even consider, too, the bigger insult to injury for that 23 car qualifies on the pole, but doesn't get the lap-led bonus, too. So that's going to hurt him as well. I'm curious to know if he could have taken a couple laps before coming down and serving that and maybe gotten that lap-led registered here. Yeah, dicey moment there for Seth Reed. He's going to lose a few spots here.
I don't know if there was contact or if he just got real loose coming off of turn 4, but he's going to lose 4 spots in one go as he just happens to be in the tightest part of the racetrack in terms of racing, and that's where he got loose. Just the wrong place at the wrong time to have that happen. He'll fall all the way back to 8th, which is the lowest we've seen him run, I think since about lap 15 or lap 20.
Honestly, yeah, you're not wrong, but I think he is not liking the run on this set of tires here after that first pit stop. He was able to move up through the field in a hurry, but you're right, he has just been dropping steadily ever since the drop of this green flag. Now finds himself back in 8th and can't count out Adrian Schumacher now, who's licking his chops just a tenth and a half just behind him here.
And this would be the telltale sign of you want to do an undercut at this point, but you just can't do it because the timing of that caution that did come out around lap 30 just really left this where there's no real margin for error on when you're going to make that pit stop. We're looking at that legitimately 2 or 3 lap window that people are going to be doing that. So he can't really come down and get those fresh tires as now he loses another spot to Adrian Schumacher this time, who's going to take 8th away from him.
This is a helpless feeling when you're in the playoffs. You kind of just got to get in your head here and just to reassess the situation. Know that these tires are going away from you, but if you cool them down, you might be able to get a little bit back here on the back end because, yeah, you're right. I mean, these guys are not going to pit, I don't think, any time before lap 80. So he has 11 more laps at least to buckle in here, not lose this pack, because if he loses this pack, I think he is going to find himself kicking himself at the end of the day after possibly coming away with a top 5 run here tonight. I think he would be stuck back here in 9th place at best. So he's got to hang in here, but I'm not sure if he didn't get in the wall or what. I'm not seeing damage, but that car just doesn't have the speed it had.
No, there we go. Blinking issues once again for Adrian Schumacher. Hopefully that is just a little blip on the radar there and it doesn't continue. Seems like it's cleared up a lot over the course of this race. But yeah, I don't see any damage there on Reed, and definitely don't see any damage on Reed E as he continues to lead the way and sitting there still about a half second clear of Josh Susie, though Susie's still chipping away light, like a little bit closer each time by. And by the way, 40 laps have gone by since that last pit stop. We're going to be right in the face of that pit window right here.
Yeah, I think we're going to see some guys really stretch it out here. We've seen that overcut strategy kind of prevail here lately. Being the last one to pit has been advantageous for a lot of guys. Seeing Bo Tiffany come down, he is going to be the first one to pull that card and make that stop here, since we can make it here to the end of this. But I'm curious to know if they can make it possibly all the way to lap 80. Otherwise, I'm going to sound like an idiot from what I said earlier.
Yeah, I mean, they got the caution laps in there that might stretch it a bit, but I still think we might only get about 44 laps out of that run. Now, the one thing that could save it is you get long enough into the run, the tires might be falling off even more than I anticipated, which means a lot less throttle time even. So maybe they save a little bit more fuel there. But, Reed.
I'm not sure if
That's got all the look of a pit entry spin.
Yeah. It was so deep, though. I was curious to know if he got spun and was just ended up there on pit road, but that's going to be a killer here for the 51, no doubt.
Absolutely, and everybody else starting to come down pit road. Driver chat starting to light up, and here we go. Austin Reedy coming in, and a big dive into the pit entry for Jacob Manning, right onto that back bumper now from 9/10 of a second back. Great entry for Manning.
Yeah, I mean, I will always vouch and say, if you don't practice your pit road entry and exit, I mean, you're wasting your time here, because there is a lot to be gained from that. We just saw it happen there with the 50, making up a lot of time on our leader. I mean, he was about 7/10 of a second back of Reedy while they were out there on the track, and you can see Susie now, it's up to him. And nobody really gauge off of as well. You know, he doesn't know if he got on there well or not. We're going to find out, though, once this thing sorts out. Everybody coming down. Ray, Schumacher just behind him. Schumacher blanking out again. Cole Martin coming down. Chris Bishop all coming down. So the top 5 here coming down, and that will pretty much cycle out everything. Yeah. Just like that. You said it wasn't going to take long. One's going to come down, and it's going to sort itself out. Reedy gets off really well, though, on the exit and builds that gap back up to 7/10 of a second. Manning with about 3/10 of a second slower pit time.
Yeah, as far as everybody on that top 5 that we were watching on that first group of the pit stops, everybody really within about a quarter second of each other on those pit times. So everybody doing a good job there. Saw that big entry there from Manning, but a little bit slower on the exit. And as we got Susie getting driven by now, and that's that one extra lap right there on that fall off, about a second and 2/3 of a lap on the fall off at that point in the run, and we're seeing it right there as he's now nearly 2 seconds behind Austin Reedy.
Yeah, and that's the worst part about it is, too, I mean, 1 lap difference on the tires. You're not going to really have the speed over the guy out in front now, so Susie just going to have to try and save, I think, the best that he can in that 53 machine. He's not going to drive his way up here to the leader, but if he can just save those tires a little bit, he might be able to get back into this thing. Right now, it's shaping up to be Austin Reedy's race at this point. We're going to step aside here on lap 75 and run a quick commercial break.
Want to be a part of an established league on iRacing? A league that's competitive, fun, and above all fair? Look no further than Speed Racing Network. Originally known as Mid-South Madness, SRN has evolved into a league that can bring the best out in any given driver. Drivers work their way up through the ranks to hopefully one day call themselves a champion of Speed Racing Network. If you're interested in joining, don't hesitate to reach out to league admins to claim your spot today. Maybe you'll end up in the history books. If you're interested in becoming a sponsor in Speed Racing Network, feel free to head over to www.speedracingnetwork.com and reach out to an admin today. And as always, remember to go faster.
With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker, the future is feeling.
Silverback Tax Solutions specializes in dealing with IRS tax problems. If you are receiving threatening letters from the IRS, or if the IRS has placed liens or levies on your property, Silverback Tax Solutions can help you find relief. We have worked with hundreds of people to resolve their tax problems. If you're behind on filing your taxes, it's never too late to get on the right track. Silverback Tax Solutions can help with that also. Don't let another night go by where you lose sleep worrying about the IRS or your taxes. Head over to www.silverbacktx.com or call 662-996-4357 and contact an enrolled agent today. We can help you gain peace of mind and deal with those problems for you.
Well, back out here on the track, you see the battle for the lead heating up, but we noticed some things during that commercial break, some penalties being handed out on pit road, Brandon.
Yeah, one of the big penalties is going to be for Jovi Ray, now sitting 1 lap down, currently in the lucky dog position, but that might be closing pretty quickly as Logan Truitt falling back towards the race leader, but Jovi speeding on pit road, 40-second penalty, so that gave him a 54-second pit stop. Other one, not really a penalty in terms of racing, but blinking issues continued. Oh, sorry, we did have another penalty also for Logan Joyner, but blinking issues continued for Adrian Schumacher. He's now 3 laps down after going off the racetrack and kind of working on those issues. Hopefully it's cleared up, but either way, now running in the 20th position after being in the top 10 for much of the night.
And, this is not he's not going to be impressed by this. I'm impressed by the way he disconnected and connected back, and he's only 3 laps down. How in the hell did he do that? So he's still out in front of Logan Joyner, at least. Joyner just behind him. Another driver we saw with a lengthy stop. That's kind of indicating that, well, I think he also got a black flag, like you said. So a tough round of pit stops here. I called you a liar during the commercial break. You said this was an easy entry, and it is, but man, I guess a lot of people just taking too much candy out of the candy jar here tonight.
Yeah, I think that's part of it, just getting way too aggressive on the entry of pit road. I think the other part of it, too, is you can practice the pit entry all you want, but how many times have you practiced it after an entirely full fuel run at pace and racing instances where you're going to wear out those tires even more, and it's your first green flag pit stop of the night? Just a whole lot to throw at these drivers that 9 times out of 10, they'll make it look incredibly easy, but it's not easy to do.
But it's like I said, it's such an important aspect of the race where you can just really make up time and you can overshoot it sometimes. And I mean, it's easy to overstep, but the three guys that are not overstepping right now, Reedy, Manning, and Susie. Susie, who came out 2 seconds behind Reedy, is just 8 tenths back now. Manning right on the bumper here, the 96. What's your mindset now, knowing that this 96 probably taking it easy, but track position is going to be key here with 25 laps to go next time by.
I mean, I said it earlier. I think Austin Reedy probably the best defensive driver while in the lead in the series. He's proven that at Kansas. He proved that at Iowa as well. So those Midwest tracks went really well, and we're in the Midwest yet again here in Chicago. So maybe that's a thing, but he's really good at being defensive, and you can see it here. I mean, he's kind of all over the place, making that car feel like it's 2 or 3 times wider than it actually is. There we go, a little look to the inside, but an easier transition back onto the racing surface off of the apron for Reedy, and that just gave him enough momentum to pull back away. If you're Jacob Manning, you're sitting there thinking, all right, when am I going to find this move? I kind of have to catch Austin a little bit off guard to make this pass with how good of a defensive driver he is. So he's kind of still feeling out where those openings are, that maybe he can find a moment to get in there. But Josh Susie sitting closing in even more right behind him, now within 0.6 of a second. So that, if you're going to make the move, you got to make it pretty quick here if you're Manning.
I'm very intrigued to see how this plays out. We had a great run shaping up last night before we had kind of I will say a caution that shouldn't have happened that really kind of ruined the whole strategy to Iowa. But I think this one's shaping up to be a great finish, especially, you know, you said the 96 is great at defensive driving in the lead, but I think the 50 is just as good as saving the tires while being fast. He knows how to get it done and take it easy on those tires. And right now, I think the 50 not really using up too much. It seems like he might be, considering the gap that he had to close on the 96. But right now, the 53 also thinking the same thing. This is going to be a 3-horse race here coming up here in a couple laps.
And they just keep tightening up more and more. And every time it seems like Manning starts to fall back just that little bit closer towards Susie than Reedy, all of a sudden he pulls right back up towards that back bumper. So it's kind of weird. This is a completely symmetrical racetrack, as weird as that sounds, with the curved back stretch, which is done nowhere else on the Cup circuit in recent memory. But it's a completely symmetrical racetrack. Yet on one side of the track, Manning and Susie have been better than Reedy has been, and Reedy's better on the other side. Racing's weird sometimes.
It is a little weird, and right now you can see it looks like he's sullen on the wheel here, but Manning is, in my opinion, being very smooth through the turns. Curious to see how he gets this done, though. He's having to utilize that high to mid lane here to try and keep the momentum here, but I think he's going to have his teammates to worry about before too long. The 53 coming down a lap later than the 96 and the 50. Susie definitely is still contender, and don't take your eyes off that lap traffic too. We see about 3 cars out the window of our leaders here. That could come into play.
Yeah, the next one up is going to be Lucas Lyons. He's only about 4 or 5 seconds ahead of Austin Reedy, Jacob Manning, and Josh Susie. So that's going to start closing up pretty quickly. Then Jack Johnson a couple seconds ahead of him. Chris Bishop a second ahead of Johnson. So there's going to be some lap traffic starting to move into the picture here. Maybe by about 10 laps to go, looking at the pace differences right now.
So running through your top 10, you see it there. Austin Reedy, Jacob Manning, Josh Susie, Joshua Balliet, in fourth. Nathan De La Rosa, that's your top 5. Great rebound for Vincent Cortez there in 6th. Cole Martin 7th. Seth Reed has settled back in as he loses a position there to Tiffany. So Tiffany out on 8th. Seth Reed in 9th place And Jackson Wade having a good top 10 run here tonight, sitting in P number 10. And then you look at the bottom of that tower, you see a lot of green. 4 drivers that we're seeing here in the playoffs at the back of the field and going to have a big hole to dig themselves out of once they get out to this next race, which is going to be the Quaker State 150.
Yeah, good old Pocono Tricky Triangle. Very different type of racetrack out here compared to Chicagoland. That's going to be a big challenge. Kind of that little bit of a road course feel for some of these guys. That wipe caught me off guard. I thought there was maybe a caution there, but yeah, that's an interesting challenge coming up here in the second race. A big, wide racetrack for all these guys to be running on, but it's got its own touch of intrigue there. So see how they kind of handle that. But there's 6 guys that are going to be feeling pretty good about their positioning against that cut line. 4 guys going to be in desperation mode already, going to a very difficult racetrack.
Well, right now, shaping up to see Austin Reedy. He pulled away pretty well off the middle portion of that run during the last green set of tires, and right now he's about to pull out to a 0.4 of a second lead over Jacob Manning. Josh Susie sitting 0.6 of a second back. I just think that pit stop killed Josh Susie, even though he was almost a second faster than these two on pit road, the pit crew getting it done. So that could have been a really terrible stop. It's so weird how iRacing does it. If you're just a little bit off in your box, it will almost add a couple tenths of a second to your stop to kind of factor in the pit crew having to adjust a little bit. So that is a killer for some guys sometimes, but Susie nailed it and ultimately kept him in this battle for the lead by coming out 2 seconds back after taking a lap around. An extra lap around on those old set of tires might kill his chances of winning here, as Reedy now out to a half second lead.
And this is going to be an interesting time here. Where is, if any, is there going to be any team kind of play here? Because you can see Manning starting to fall off the pace just a little bit, and I mean he's still 0.6 of a second back. I'm not going to say he's falling off a map or anything, but he's just kind of losing a little bit here and there, nearly about a tenth of a lap right now. But Susie's still got the pace. You can see him closing in. Is there going to be a little team communication of, hey, we might have a better shot at getting a race win with a driver if you flip positions right now? Because Susie just running a little bit cleaner, and he's got that. I mean, it's one lap, but it's still a little bit fresher tires. Maybe he can make some use out of it.
Yeah, you can see all the way back to lap 93. That was the last time either of these two were gaining on Reedy, and each time he's putting a couple hundredths of a second down, which just adds up after lap after lap after lap. And there's Lucas Lyons now sitting there 16th, the next car to go a lap down here after this long green flag run. There's Logan Joyner out ahead of him. He's already a couple of laps down, but these boys are going to have to sort it out here, whether Jacob Manning wants to give that position to Susie to see if he can go for a win or not. I don't think Manning wants to do it knowing what's on the line here.
Yeah, that's where it's tough. I mean, you can sit there and say, hey, maybe we got a better shot, and I think at that point it's going to have to come down to the drivers making that decision. But at the same time, we talk about how there's 4 guys having a really rough night in terms of the playoffs. That still means that there's 6 having a pretty solid night. Every point's still going to matter. So, I mean, you might throw out that team idea, but at the same time, Jacob Manning isn't going to want to give up that 1 extra point that might be all too important at the end of this round.
Yeah, so Reed back there in 9th will feel good about the other people's woes here tonight, because he is likely going to come out of this race being that first driver below the cut line behind Vincent Cortez, but just a couple points back there. And Jovi Ray, the next one in line, all the way back in 17th place. That's going to give him an 8-point cushion for Seth Reed if it stays this way out of Chicagoland.
And how about that for Seth Reed? We talk a lot about, mitigating the damage and trying to keep that as light as possible when something goes wrong. Seth Reed spinning on the entry into the pits, getting into that pit wall even after he spun, but a quick recovery out of it. He fought for that, getting that time back. He was also one of the first ones on pit road, so he got the fresher tires right after it, and still holding on to the 9th place position. As now up to the 5th place position, Vincent Cortez just got by Nathan De La Rosa.
Yeah, just think, too, after one race, the cut line cushion back to Jovi Ray, who's in 17th. He's going to be 12 points back of Vincent Cortez if this thing holds up. Do they still hand out bonus points for qualifying on the pole?
Yeah. So
Okay,
2
so
bonus
yeah.
points for that. So it's going to be 13 back to Joshua Balliet, who I don't believe has led a lap during those pit cycles tonight. So he'll be probably 5th in the point standings, but still 13 points ahead of Jovi Ray. He's going to be about 4 points ahead of Seth Reed.
So yeah, that is going to be a win at the end of the day, even though I know Cortez is going to want to actually win this race after getting the pole here. Coming back with the top 5 after getting a black flag on the first lap. And a pretty much green flag run race here all night long is going to be pretty satisfying for the driver of the 23. Still nothing changing for the battle for second, except you see that white car out in front. He has opened up the gap almost to 1 second now with 9 laps to go.
And at this rate, I don't believe we're going to see lap traffic become a
Ooh.
factor here. Oh, loose for Jacob Manning. Oh! That's a heck of a save and a heck of a Code Brown moment for Josh Susi. But he's going to use that momentum down to the inside, see if he can get clear of that 50 car. That might be the opening that Susi needed to maybe have a chance at trying to reel in Austin Reedy.
Holy cow. I don't know how he saved that. But yeah, Susi, he's like, you know what? Maybe you can have it here, because I almost took us both out with that little slide there. A little slide is a bit of an understatement, but you can still see him sawing on that wheel here. The handling definitely gone on that 50.
Yeah, those tires are completely wasted at this point. And I think part of it, too, is you can kind of see the texture difference on the racetrack on that low line. There's a little bit more grip down there. But what it also is there's that seam that he's kind of straddling right now. You hit that seam at the wrong point, like he did right there. You hit it at the wrong point while you're turning that wheel, and it's going to kick that car loose. And I think that's what happened there in combination with these tires being on their last leg.
Yeah, this is the turn that you could see it yawed out right here. That car is wanting to step out through the middle portions of 3 and 4, and he's just having to correct it a little bit. Now, these Xfinity Series cars, they're a little bit more lenient on overcorrecting. You can kind of drive it like that, but for 6 laps, it's pretty dangerous here, especially as a playoff driver just wanting to salvage. I mean, he doesn't have much pressure behind him here. Might just have to accept a 3rd place run here tonight with the way this car is running here at the back end of the run.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to, even if he gets back to Susi, I don't think you're going to want to put that in jeopardy for you and your teammate trying to make that move with how loose that car is right now. And I know you and I both started kind of re-dabbling in some dirt racing on the surface. That wheel's turning right. It's good on dirt. I don't want to see that here at Chicagoland. That thing's starting to lean a little bit towards the right a little too often.
He is sawing on that thing right now. And I mean, he's got 5 seconds back to Balliet here. I think he's just going to coast here from the rest of this race. Watching Susi pull away. We'll see one more turn here. Just gives me a little bit of anxiety, and I don't like it. But right now, we're going to go back out in front here as Austin Reedy crosses the stripe and seeing 4 laps to go. He's possibly staring down, I believe. What is this, his 3rd win of the season?
Yeah, 3rd win. He'd have the Midwest sweep here as well with Kansas, Iowa, and Chicagoland if this thing stays green the rest of the way. And I think that's the only thing that's going to be stopping this 96 car right now is just getting about 3.5 more miles of green flag racing before he takes that white flag.
Yeah, and possibly staring at only 15 drivers finishing on the lead lap. Next one to go a lap down is Jack Johnson, but he's got a couple of seconds to go. I don't think Reedy's going to be worried about catching him here anytime soon. 3 laps to go left in the Windy City 165. You can just see how much space there is right now here. And then look at the big gap all the way back to Balliet here in 4th. And there goes Vincent Cortez in 5th. So I think we're going to see this shape up exactly the way it is, unless we see a late caution. Trying to, see about my inner Danica, see if I can get that to work here this week.
Oh, geez, yeah, but that was unfortunate for sure. But I don't think Austin Reedy wants to see that, and he's now a half lap away from not seeing that happen. Just going to be hanging on for another 15 seconds, just thinking, please, everybody keep that car straight and on the racetrack.
Yeah, and you can kind of tell he's taking it easy, too, as Susi's starting to close the gap back a little bit. He's just cruising, not wanting that car to step out of him. Seeing that white flag wave here. Next flag will end it. Final lap of the Windy City 165.
And this is big for Austin Reed. He came out of that first round 8th in the point standings. Obviously solid. He was 19 points ahead of that cut line, but this momentum just going to propel him. It gives you a real good feeling going into Pocono and going towards Vegas. Real solid night here for that 96 in contention the entire way.
Yeah, considering Pocono is not everybody's favorite track, this will definitely help you heading in to next week as he crosses the line. And Austin Reedy is our winner here tonight in Week 17 to kick off the round of 10.
Honestly, everybody pretty well spread out all the way back until you get about 11th with Chris Bishop and Michael Larch, the only ones really going side by side towards the line, and give that spot to Chris Bishop just ahead. So really kind of got strung out, which you do expect to see happen when we get an 80-lap green flag run to end this race. Just one caution here. So that means over the last 3 seasons, we've only seen one caution at Chicagoland.
You're my statistician for a reason, because I would have never known that for any reason whatsoever. But we need to get a pink or a purple banner on this car to indicate that he is a playoff driver and he is going to be first in the points here to kick off the second round. And you can tell he's feeling good as he's doing some donuts on the front straightaway of Chicagoland Speedway. Austin Reedy gets it done for Murray Reedy Motorsports here tonight, having a great run. I mean, only having 4 of his guys out there, Chris Bishop, Murray, and Lautenschlager, who didn't finish the race. That's a good showing for these boys over at MRMS. So he's going to go ahead and pull off a little bit of a Polish victory lap like we see a lot of drivers do, and that's going to give us an opportunity to head on up to the blimp and give you the final results here tonight for the Windy City 165. Austin Reedy is your winner by 1 1/4 second over Josh Susi. And Jacob Manning comes home in third to wrap up the podium spot. Joshua Balliet comes home fourth, and Vincent Cortez, after starting the night in first, will come home fifth. There you see the top 5, all playoff drivers.
And then it's a whole lot of non-playoff drivers the rest of the way through the top 20 as we got Nathan De La Rosa, the first one of those. He'll finish in 6th. Cole Martin will be in 7th. Bo Tiffany in 8th. A playoff driver in Seth Reed will be in 9th, 6th out of that group. And Jackson Wade will round out the top 10.
Yep, Chris Bishop with a good run out of Murray Reedy Motorsports as well, gets 11th. Michael Larch comes home 12th after a quiet night. Devin Zimmerman in 13th. Jack Johnson in 14th. And the last driver on the lead lap is going to be Tyler Murray in 15th.
Yeah, and then at least one lap down the rest of the way back. Jovi Ray in 16th. Logan Truitt will be in 17th. 2 laps down will be Lucas Lyons in 18th. 3 laps down, Nick Helda and Adrian Schumacher rounding out the top 20.
So that is your finishing order here tonight in the Windy City 165. Let's see if we can track down a couple of our podium finishers here tonight. Let's see if I can find Jacob Manning. There he is. I know he always likes to come up here and talk to us. So let's bring him on up to the booth. Jacob, it's Greg Olenek and Brandon Domain. Tell us about that run here tonight. I know you wanted more. You had a fast number 50, but not a bad way to start off the round of 10.
First of all, thanks for doing all this, guys. Thanks for being out here tonight. I appreciate it. Man, I tell you what, I hate this track. I'm so tired of it. Just no such thing as passing. I could get within a little bubble every time I was coming up on anyone, and whether it was my teammates or Reedy, who was fast the whole race, or anyone else who may have had any speed. Anytime you come up on them, you get in a bubble you can't pass. So unfortunately, it just didn't fit my driving style. I'm used to trying to save the right front or the right rear wherever we go, and hopefully get them on the long run. And I just didn't work when you can't get by the bubble. So it's unfortunate, but I mean, 3rd place ain't too bad. So I got a lot that I can think that I can complain about, but I'll be positive and say it's a great night. I could have done a lot worse, and my team as a whole could have done a lot worse. So all in all, a great night.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking a lot during the race about the troubles that we saw for about half of the playoff field throughout this race. For 6 were inside that top 10, but then everybody else outside of really the top 20. So that point position going to be looking really good. And you talk about difficult to pass, but we got a very different type of racetrack coming up next week with Pocono. And how's that challenge going to feel? Where there's going to be some playoff drivers that'll have a little bit more desperation after tonight, but going into Pocono, a very difficult racetrack with this little bit of a cushion that you're going to have.
It's good. I mean, they don't call it the tricky triangle for no reason. It's a pain. I've always struggled there, so we'll see what we can do. It's hard to master all three different, very different type of corners, and we'll see what we can do as a whole team next week. As a driver for myself, I'll be challenged to be consistent, and I'm sure a lot of other guys will too. So it'll be interesting. It's a good week to not miss.
Well, Brandon, I don't know about you, but I wish I could feel disappointed after a third place run. I mean, I know you are always wanting to win, Jacob, but it's a good way to start off the round of 10, even though you don't like this track. But we'll see what you can do next week when we get you out to Pocono. But before then, who you got to thank here tonight, bud?
Well, I already thanked you guys, but I'll do it again because I want to show my appreciation. You guys did an awesome job up here. You do an awesome job every single week. I'm so appreciative of you guys coming up in here and doing this. That takes something else to sit up here and watch everybody else do what you're entertained to do by yourself, and not get in on that action. So I can understand that from y'all's perspective. Thank you to the admins. Thank you to Justin Rideout and JW Racing, all the teammates, everybody who pushes me to go faster every week. All the sponsors, Rogue Energy, which you can use, code JW Racing for 10% off. Saloon Door Sports, Smeared Mechanical, Roof Sport, and all those guys who make all this possible for our team to come out here and run every week, and all the competitors who put up a good fight and make it interesting every week. So thank you to all of y'all.
Well, we appreciate it, man. We enjoy sitting up here watching you guys, even though, I mean, I got to agree with you. I would like to be down there mixing it up. Who knows? Maybe I'll get out there and race with you guys some next season. But you guys got a lot to sort out here with 3 races left to go in the Silverback Series. So best of luck when we get you out to Pocono next week.
Thank you guys.
All right, so that was our third place finisher here tonight. And let's see if we can go ahead and bring his teammate Josh Susi up here into the mix and see if he's feeling a little bit better about his run here tonight. Josh, welcome to the booth. You got Greg Olenek and Brandon Domain, as always, calling these races on Thursday. Tell us about that run here. I know you started off hot, started getting out in front, leading some laps, picked up a spot from where you started in third, coming home second. But what did you have to do differently to possibly get out in front of that 96 and get that win here tonight?
I probably would have had to leapfrog them pitting on the same lap, to be completely honest with you. Especially once the tires equalized out, it was really hard to pass here. You can kind of set up a run. You probably saw a couple times I tried to jump underneath my teammate in that first run. If they can pinch you pretty good in 3 and 4, it's really hard to make the pass work. So track position's key. Clean air really helps. Yeah, I at times felt like I was quicker than Austin. At other times, I felt like he was quicker than me. It's just seesawing back and forth, and really over hard to overcome equal pace and dirty air.
Well, while we talk about the smaller picture with this race itself, I was kind of looking at the bigger picture with a lot of this run, and there was kind of that little bit of a rough stretch at the start of the playoff and getting out of the regular season there, just a couple of rougher performances. But now you've kind of got that momentum going back your way. There was a 7th a couple of weeks ago. You had a 5th last week, and now a runner-up position here tonight. How big is that with only 3 races left in the season? Seems like you're kind of picking up that momentum right at the right point of the time again.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's huge, right? Because we got here, and then the next 2 races, I try to be in the top 5 in points. And I had some bad luck at the beginning of the playoffs. That wasn't of my own doing, and I was able to squeak by into the round of 10 with a good run. And every point's vital. Like you get a bonus point if you get a 0x, right? And I ran that race with a 0x only to get hit after the race on pit road by someone, and it gave me a 4x, which shows up in the results as a 4x. So I pitched my case to the admins saying, hey, I don't think that's right. I finished the race with a 0x. I got hit after the race, so hopefully I'm still awarded that bonus points because I mean I did everything I could tonight besides win the pole and win the race, but I led some laps and I got a runner up. But I maximized everything that I possibly could, and with 10 guys fighting for 5 spots and 2 more races, every single point is crucial.
Absolutely. So hopefully they work that out in your favor here because I preach that every week, man. Those bonus points are vital, especially once we get down to the nitty gritty here with 3 races left. But before we get you on out to Pocono Raceway next week for the second race of the round of 10, who you got to thank here tonight?
Yeah, I want to shout out everyone as always at JW. Awesome group of guys. Me and Jacob had some miscommunication at the beginning of the race, but we sorted that out. And practice throughout the week. We do great sharing information. That hasn't changed all season. I couldn't be prouder of the team that I'm on. And big shout out to Betsy down in turn 1. I know she was rooting for us the whole time. We love you. We'll see you at Pocono, and hope we just put on a good show and. 3 of us in the playoffs. We had a pretty good run-in, so if we can keep that up, I'd like to get all 3 of us in the round of 5. That'd be great.
All right. Well, always shouting out Betsy. Can't forget about her down there. But good job here tonight, man. Coming home, Pete, number 2. We'll see if we can get you one more position next week when we get out to Pocono. Best of luck and have a good night, bud.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, so that was P number 2, Josh Susie, our runner-up here tonight. I'm going to go ahead and track down an Austin Reedy, who's still probably celebrating with his teammates down there in the Murray Reedy Motorsports Discord. Let's bring him on up here. Austin, it's Greg Olenek and Brandon Domain up in the broadcast booth. You're a winner here for the first race of the round of 10. Man, tell me what that means as far as confidence and momentum heading into these next 2 races. Are you feeling like you might be dancing in Vegas here in a couple of weeks?
Yeah, I think we'll be there in Vegas. These next 2 races are. This wasn't even my best track out of these 3, so I'm excited for Pocono and Auto Club coming up here. Tonight was a great race. That we had that one caution, but races like this that we can do these long green flag runs and race it out, green flag pit stops to the end. There, these are the best.
So it's been a tremendous season for you. I think there's only 3 races outside of the top 8 really in the last really this entire season. But one thing I keep thinking about, what is it with you and these Midwest tracks? You got Kansas, Iowa, and now Chicagoland, all wins there. You just become a master of this region here. It seems on these D-shaped ovals in the center of the country.
I don't know. That's a new stat to me. I'm not a Midwest boy. I'm an East Coast guy. I don't know, something. I'm just getting. I feel like I'm getting a lot better at the service here later. I actually started putting some time in, without work getting in the way and whatnot. But I don't know. Just some of these tracks I really enjoyed. Tonight was really a surprise to me, to be honest. Chicagoland, I really didn't have much of a gauge on how this track was. I don't run here much. Mile and a halfs now I would say aren't even my strong suit. I think short tracks are way better for me. But tonight we had to learn to go. I didn't have Kyle with me tonight. He usually helps me out a lot with how to run this car. He's a very good driver in this car, and also shout out to him. He's gonna probably miss the rest of the season. He had an injury actually working on the 6 car for the Xfinity Series at Phoenix. So hopefully we can keep this going. We're going to go to my hometown, not my hometown, but my home region, the Northeast, at Pocono next week, I believe. So that'll be fun. It's a great track. It's a very unique track.
Oh man, maybe we need to get Kyle Benson up here in the booth and get him as like a little bit of a color commentator if he's not going to be racing the rest of the season. But hopefully he gets a speedy recovery here and we get him back next season. I miss old Kyle Benson. But man, before we move on to Pocono and get you ready for the second race, who you got to thank here tonight?
Well, we got 2 more designs. It's Jay's team. They've been the same paint, same car all year. So hopefully we can take them to the final 5 there at Vegas, and win it all. We'll see what happens, but we got a couple more races to go. This win doesn't cement us in that top 5 there, so we got to keep producing these good races and these good finishes.
Well, we'll see what you can do next week. Like you said, going to be kind of a home race for you, a little bit far away from Delaware, but it's the closest you're going to get here this season. So I know you're going to be looking to maybe park that car in victory lane once again. But that's going to do it for you tonight, man. Best of luck when we get out there next week, and have a good night.
All right, thank you, boys. Have a good night.
All right, so that was our winner, Austin Reedy, parking it in victory lane. Says he doesn't even really run this track much, but you wouldn't know it by the way he was driving out there tonight. I mean, he chalked up pretty much every bonus point you could get here tonight with leading the most laps. Pretty much just missed out on the pole. And I have to imagine once we see Sean Griffith post those standings here this week, that 96 is going to be sitting pretty at the top of this thing.
Yeah, I think the only bonus points he's really going to miss out on are the pole position. So it should be a 46-point night out of a possible best of 48. Can't do a whole lot better than that to start this round, and a little bit more chance. I mean, he's excited about Pocono, and that's a love-or-hate racetrack. And if he's excited about that one and already sitting atop the point standings going into the second race of this round, it's going to be a scary sight for everybody else in that playoff field.
Yeah, as a driver, I could tell you I hate it, but I don't know about everybody else. We'll see how it looks once we get on out there. There's going to be a lot of holes trying to be dug out of. You got Max Service back there. He finished 23rd out of 24 drivers here tonight. Joyner coming home in 21st. Schumacher in 20th. And you got Joby Ray back there in 16th. All four of those guys very capable of having a big run next week at Pocono. So there you see it, the Quaker State 150 next in line, March 23rd, same time, same place. So please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that little bell there so you know exactly when we go live for the Silverback Tag Series. But that's going to do it for us here tonight and for Week 17 action. On to Week 18, but that's going to do it here. So please have a good night, stay safe, and go faster.